Hello. Last year I presented a strategy review of the 3-bar Renko strategy. Since then I've had a number of suggestions of ways to improve that strategy, so I thought that the first strategy review for this year would be to cover some of those suggestions. Obviously I received too many suggestions to cover everything in detail, so I've broken them down into 3 broad groups, plus one more that I found interesting. Before I go too much further, for people who may not have seen the earlier video, let me just show Renko charts and how they work. I have a Renko chart showing on screen here. It differs from time-based charts in that each brick on the Renko chart represents the same price movement. So a new brick is printed, in this case every time the price is moved by 20 pips, regardless of how long it takes for that move to happen. So it's possible for multiple bricks to form during one time-based candle, and for many time-based candles to go by before one brick forms. Now, one of the questions I did get last time I showed this was, where did I find my Renko indicator? This is not the same Renko indicator I used last time, and to be honest, I don't know where the indicator came from that I used previously. I downloaded it from the internet and I completely lost track of it. It was an offline chart style of indicator. You'll find several of those available for download on the internet. By that I mean that I had to run an expert advisor in one chart which captured the price movements, wrote those price movements to a history file, and then I opened an offline chart on that history file, and that showed up as the Renko charts. Now that's not an approach that I particularly liked to show a chart, and for some of the suggestions that I've received, I preferred to be able to see the time-based chart and the Renko chart at the same time, so I developed my own Renko indicator that you can see here. It shows up in a sub-window, so you can still see the time-based indicator above. Just be careful not to assume that the Renko brick matches the candle showing in the window above. As I mentioned, they are created at different times, and you may get many bricks created in a single candle or many candles before one brick. So really the only place that they line up is at the current candle. But this is a way to show something like a moving average and see if currently the moving average trend matches the Renko trend showing. For the people who would like to get a copy of this indicator, I'll cover how to get that copy and download it at the end of the video. I have some other things to show you as well before we get to that. Now the basis of the 3-brick Renko strategy was to look for 3 consecutive bricks in one direction, and then enter a trade in that direction, and then wait for one brick in the opposite direction as a reversal and close that trade. That is the standard 3-brick Renko strategy, but today I'm covering some variations to that following the suggestions that I've received. In the 3 broad groups of suggestions, the first group were really suggestions that had little or nothing to do with Renko charts. They were either suggestions that didn't really understand how Renko charts operated, or were simply promoting a strategy that really had nothing to do with the Renko charts that I showed. So I won't be covering that group at all today. The next group of suggestions was simply that I was entering the trades too late or exiting too early, and they were suggesting that I change the 3-brick entry and 1-brick exit to some other ratio. For this strategy review, I'm actually going to cover a number of combinations of entries from 1, 2 and 3 bricks entry and 1, 2 and 3 bricks exit, although I won't be covering situations where the exit is longer than the entry, because to do that would mean that you would be entering in the opposite direction before exiting the original trade. The next group of suggestions were to add a trend filter, and almost all of those suggested a moving average of some kind, and the most popular were exponential moving averages. And although the moving average is a time-based indicator and not really in keeping with Renko, I considered this could be used as a confluence type indicator. And so I've tested a number of different time frames and different moving average settings. Obviously, for a standard Renko chart, the time frame is irrelevant, but when considering a moving average, the time frame does matter. And the last suggestion was to use something similar to a super trend type indicator on the Renko chart, so a floating support and resistance line. I'm just showing that on screen now so you can see what we're talking about. It shows a support line until that is broken by the Renko bars, and then it shows a resistance line until that is broken. This is one of the reasons that I created my own original Renko indicator, so that I could now create this indicator that shows the support and resistance lines. This is also available for download, and I'll cover that at the end of the video. When I considered this approach though, I realized that the floating support and resistance lines will really only give the same trend indication as setting the number of bricks for entry. So I've decided not to bother testing this, but the indicator itself was appealing, and so that's why I've made it available. Now for my general testing approach. I tested using 6 major pairs plus 1. So those were the Australian dollar, euro, pound, Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, Japanese yen, and the euro pound cross. I also ran the test over two separate time ranges, through the full years for 2019 and the full year for 2020, so that I could get a comparison between the 2 years, because market conditions can vary from year to year. I tested the strategies using an expert advisor on MetaTrader in the strategy tester. This is a custom built expert advisor, and obviously it uses the data in my copy of MetaTrader, which came from my broker, and so it may differ from the information that you have from your broker. For the purpose of the test, I fixed the spread at 10 points, and the trades are all at 0.01 lots. And then I ran these conditions for both of the suggestions under a number of variations. For the entry and exit bricks suggestion, the time frame was not relevant, but just for information, I set the charts at a 4-hour time frame, and then I tested 6 combinations of entry and exit, being 1 brick entry, 1 brick exit, 2 bricks entry, 1 brick exit, and so on through 2-2, 3-1, 3-2, and 3-3. For the trend filter testing, the time frame is important. So I tested 4 different time frames: 15 minutes, 1 hour, 4 hours, and daily charts. I used 3 different moving average periods: 200, 100, and 50. All of these used the EMA on close. And the filter criteria was that I would only buy if the price is above the moving average, and only sell if the price is below the moving average. And I would ignore the Renko signals in the opposite direction. And for the moving average trend, I tested everything using the 3 brick entry and 1 brick exit criteria. Putting all those combinations together, I ran 252 total test runs of this strategy, resulting in 30,629 total trades tested. Now obviously that's presenting far too much information to cover in this video in detail, so what I've done is choose the best and worst performers from each of these categories, and I'll present those in a table now, showing each currency's best and worst performers. So first, the best results by testing the entry and exit combinations, and I've grouped these by symbol, and you can see that I have the 2019 results shown beside the 2020 results. The columns are the entry exit criteria, so 1 brick in, 1 brick out, 1 brick in, 3 bricks out, and so on. Then the total profit achieved, the number of trades executed, and then for people who might be considering martingale, the maximum number of consecutive wins and maximum number of consecutive losses. And I show the same information for 2019 and 2020. Now, although this is the best result for each of these currencies, you can still see that some of the currencies achieved a loss for the year. The numbers shown in the total line, for example, the $205.40 total profit for the year, isn't the total of these 7 best results. This is the total of all tests executed. So if you executed every possible combination for all 7 of these currencies for 2019, you would have achieved a result of $205.40 for 4,386 trades. And the consecutive wins and consecutive losses is the maximum of any of the conditions in that year. And choosing the best performer in each of these years, in 2019 the pound was the best result, but with a profit of only $148.07 for the year over 124 trades, and that was using the 3 brick entry, 3 brick exit strategy. Then in 2020 the best performer was the Australian dollar, also with the 3 brick entry and 3 brick exit strategy, but the profit there was only $103.06 for 96 trades. And you can see that the top performer for the previous year, the pound, dropped to a profit of only $17.07 for the year, with over 400 trades executed. And now looking at the worst results, this is using the same data but choosing the lowest profit or highest loss from each of these currencies. The total line is obviously the same because that is the total profit and total number of trades across every test that was executed. And as you would expect, a larger number of negative values here. But if we look at the worst performer of all of the currencies, in each year it was the euro pound cross. And in each year it was with the 1 brick entry, 1 brick exit strategy. And clearly in 2020 the result was much greater at $405 compared to a loss of $128.70 in 2019. So now moving to the best results using the moving average filter. And here I've replaced the entry and exit bricks with time frame and periods, because you remember I said that I would be testing everything with 3 bricks entry and 1 brick exit. But apart from that change from entry and exit to time frame and periods, The rest of the columns are the same. And here the best performers were the same as they were for the entry-exit variations. The pound was the best performer in 2019 and the Australian dollar in 2020, although the results were different. But still, the total profit for the pound only $128.69 over 101 total trades, and the best result for the Australian dollar only $62.05 profit over 86 trades. And interestingly, a large number in 2020, the best result they could achieve was a loss. And then to the worst results by symbol, again, I've replaced the entry and exit with time frame and periods. And the worst result in 2019 was still the Euro Pound cross using a 4-hour chart and a 50-period moving average. And the worst result for 2020, though, was now the Euro US dollar with a 15-minute chart and a 50-period moving average. Overall, I did not find any combination of filters or entry and exit bricks that I found made this a compelling strategy to use. But even with the large number of tests that I ran, there are still a lot of combinations that haven't been tested. And as you can see, some currencies perform better under some conditions. So perhaps with some manual intervention, switching things on and off, you might get better results than these. If you do want to try these tests yourself, the Expert Advisor, along with the 2 indicators that I showed earlier, are all available for download. If you are interested in downloading any of these, there's a link in the description where you can find the downloads for both the MetaTrader 4 and MetaTrader 5 versions of these. In future strategy reviews, I'll be covering new ground and not reviewing old strategies again, so I hope that will be a bit more interesting for you. I hope this has been useful though, and if it has, then please click the like button, and if you want to see more of our videos, then click subscribe, and if you click the bell icon, then you'll be notified when we release new videos. So until next time, thank you for watching.